I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Quilt Stream. My name is Chip Connor. I am your host, and today is Monday, November 1st. Can you believe we are actually in November now? I mean, the time is just flying. Did you have a good Halloween? Well, today we're going to be talking about inspiration for the fall. And as I was going through and I was looking around for background images, and I came across this one, and I thought immediately everything clicked for today's show. I mean, have you ever been driving through the cross country and you've seen those those barnside quilt blocks that are over the barn doors, and you just thought, hey, I wonder if a quilter lives there. I've always wanted to stop and just knock on the door and say, hey, are you a quilter? But I love those barnside quilt blocks for the fall. And today we're going to be inspired by that to take a look at a Sawtooth quilt block. And I am just too excited about it. But before we get into today's topic, let's see who we've got in the chat. Oh, so we've got Angel. Hello, Angel. We've got Scott and Tracy, and who else? Brendan. We have Johan. We have, you know what, you guys are the original OGs to the channel, and I'm really glad to have you. So before we get into today's block that we're going to be working on, if you have a question, go ahead and start your question out with a question mark, and then that way I might be able to filter and find your question more easily. But guaranteed, the people in this chat are going to have better answers than me. So the Sawtooth Star, one of my favorite things to see on a barn side door, on the side of a barn. Easy for me to say. And for anybody who's not familiar, let's take a look on Chrome and see what Chrome can show us. So we have the Sawtooth quilt block. And let's go after some images. There we go. So immediately you see that there is actually, that's not a really good representation. Let me show you, this one is. Because the Sawtooth Star is actually a 9-patch block. And officially, it's made up of 4 different pieces. I have here, we have the cornerstone, the center block, I'm sorry, the center patch, and then a flying geese. And then I was doing some digging, and I went into my Barbara Brackman encyclopedia. And what's really awesome is that she's going to show you different variations of the individual blocks, and then she's done so much research. She's going to give you a first look of when did this come into the lexicon? When did this come into the quilting awareness? And I believe, if memory serves right, it was 1859. 1850, so mid to late 1800s. And I did earmark it, I think. Did I? I certainly did. So let's give a look. So you're going to see perhaps that there are different versions out there, and this was actually the quilt that she was able to find. It was called it was incorporated in the ribbon star, but actually we can do better than this. Her encyclopedia also comes with Blockbase, the software, and it's an individual platform, so like a software that you can get for your computer, and it is, I believe, both Mac and PC capable, and it could be a standalone, or it actually can integrate with EQ8. So let's take, if magic is going to work, let's take a look at Blockbase, and here we go. So right now we're in the Blockbase software, and if you really, really want a fun toy to play with, it'll be block base. Now, when you think of a 9-patch, ordinarily they can come in two varieties. One is an even, so you have an equal sizing of all of your patch pieces, or you can go to an unequal, and let's see if I can go. So here's a 9-patch, but then you're going to see that there's uneven sides. So this is rectangles and squares, and the first one that I showed was all even squares. But the beauty of this is that, let's say you're not sure of what the reference is, so you might just type in Sawtooth, Sawtooth star, and that's when this page came up. If I had not typed that earlier, that wouldn't have come in. But then what's really cool is that you can actually see that the default size from her research has always been like a 6 by 6 inch square finished block. And then again, you're noticing that you have this corner patch, the flying geese, and then the large piece. And the earliest one that she could find was from a periodical published by Crowell, is it Crowell or Crowell, in Springfield, Ohio. And they started shipping those patterns, I was wrong, it's 1884, which is a long, long time ago. So what's fun with this block-based software is that you can actually start out with just the line, the patch lines, and then you can say, well, what if it actually looks in two colors? And this is where you're going to get into, is it modern? Is it, you know, and that is a question that I'm not going to be able to answer, and it really is going to be driven by your design. Is it modern or is it traditional? And it really does depend on how you play with it. Let me start out with something that I think, going back to block base, but let me show you something that I think would actually be more modern. So if I'm looking at the different variations of the Sawtooth star, I can actually play with the quilt layout, and we're going to go back to the end. And if you did a huge 12-inch block or even greater, and this is the entire quilt layout, actually, I'm sorry, let me share. I'm not sharing the screen that I want to. There we go. It's going to be the quilt layout. So this one would be more modern because it's a huge medallion, and again, it could be a 12-inch, it could be a 15-inch, but the main body of the quilt would be pretty modest, and like maybe this might be a whole solid, and then except for this shining star, the Sawtooth star. And what if we go and we started playing around with the different repetitions of the block? So this one, you see everything is just in vertical lines, and it's a repeating pattern. But then what happens if you add some sashing and you have these cornerstones? And then what happens if you have it on point? Now, the funny thing is, I really have to cross my eyes. I really have to cross my eyes to try to find the star in this. So I'm even going to give you like a minute and just remember, where is that star? To me, it just gets lost. And then what if that's the same, but then we took out a little of the repetitions of that block, and if I bounce back and forth, you can actually start picking out the block. I think what it is because in this one, not only is it on point, but then there's so many of the repeated blocks in there that it just kind of goes away. So this one is varied, so then you have the vertical, instead of everything, all the stars repeating on each line, you actually stagger them. And this really is a fun block that you could play with. and it depends on how much time you have and really, do you want to go modern or do you want to go more traditional? And I love the more modern. I love that big, huge medallion that it's like a statement piece because it really, it just, I love it. I love it. So today or over the weekend, I was going through my fabric and immediately I knew that I'm like in love with fall. It is my favorite time of year. And I remembered I have this Island Batiks by Robert Kaufman fabric. And it's like, I love working with Island Batiks fabrics. It's my absolute favorite. And it's like, do you ever feel like, oh my God, I can't actually break, I don't want to break this open. It is like hard for me to do. But you know what? I have a secret to that. Just buy more. All right, so if I'm going through and I'm gonna give you some fabrics that was having to play with. And Tracy, who is on, she'll appreciate this. This is a lesson that she really hit home with me, is when you're playing with the pattern, and actually let me pause for a second. So I was working with AccuQuilt's, my Go Cube, and I have today I was gonna do the 4-inch, I have the 4-inch block, this is their mix and match, and her pattern, Eleanor Burns, is a mix of, you have die 1, die 2, and then 4 and 5. So if I'm going back to my cube, then I'm going to pick out die 1, which is, this is going to be the center block. So there's actually blades that are in here, and this will cut 4. And then I'm also going to need die 2, which is the smaller, and this is going to be for those cornerstones, and there's also 4 of those. So that's dies 1 and 2, and then what did we say? 4 and 5. So that's in my next one. And we slip that back in the case. And 4 and 5. Did I pick out the wrong one? There's 5. And 4 is already in the last one. So these are going to be those corner triangles when you're making the flying geese. And then put this one back. 4 was actually in here in the first one. So this is going to be your larger triangle. And what's really great is that boom, 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 especially for a small project that I'm going to be working on today, it really did make my cutting go really quick. So if, according to Eleanor Burns, her pattern is that you're really working, this is where I was saying, Tracy, you'll appreciate this, is that she wants you to work with a light, a medium, and a dark. So if you're looking at this, you have the corners, which is light, and then you have your medium, which is, she's considering the center square medium, and then you have your dark, which is the corner triangle, I'm sorry, the triangles for those flying geese. And then if I'm working with my Island Batiks, then I have, I don't even remember how many were in here. 22 pieces. So I had 22, and I was playing with it. So I know that this one was a light, and then I had some other lights that I could play with, and this one had the dots, and this one had, it kind of reminded me of bricks, and then this one is, I don't even know what you would like, maybe palm fronds. So lots to play with. And then I was thinking, like, does blue even really speak to people in fall? And I thought, you know what, that would actually be kind of a fun way to incorporate, you know, just a little bit of a touch of something different other than those expected golds and browns and yellows and reds. So Island Batiks, if you've never worked with them, I totally recommend it, because you also, the beauty is this, there's no right side. So no matter what you're doing, and sometimes you just want something that almost is like they say in knitting, it's potato chip knitting. This is kind of like potato chip sewing. So you don't have to worry about which way that you're placing your pieces other than the right orientation. So now, if I'm playing with all of these different fabrics, then you can get out a red filter. So I wish I was looking for a red filter that I could put, and I know I can do it on my broadcast software that I'm using, Ecamm, for this project. I'm sorry, for this channel, and I'm gonna find one, because I really think it would be really great to be able to say, okay, let me show you that red filter in action, so that you can actually get rid of all of the colors and really focus on value. So if I'm getting a light, a medium, and a dark, if you get a red filter, that's really going to help you. But what we could do, and if I'm going to cross my fingers this actually works, because I've only done it like maybe 1 or 2 times. I'm going to go back to my down camera, and then I'm going to put us in black and white. There we go. So now it's in black and white. So if this is a cheat, if I'm going to put us there, and then I'm going to show you what I actually ran with. So I think it was, where's my orange? Oh, it's buried. And I need that one. So I'm going to pull here. And I think it was this one, and what was my dark? What was my dark? I think it was this one. But now you can see that really, and if I take the black and white, you have all of these colors that really do play nicely together. But then if I'm putting on the filter to give me just black and white, I can see those values of light, medium, dark. And that is how I auditioned. That's how I auditioned my fabrics. So the pattern that I'm going to be working with is this one here. And no, I'm not going to do any little porcelain looking children in my block. That's just not, this is just not me. What I'm doing is very fall themed, and I hope you guys like it. I've already done some cutting and sewing, and I'm going to arrange and kind of give you an idea of where we're going, and then we'll actually get to sewing. So I've done 3 of the 9 patches already, and we'll do that, and we'll do this one. There we go. So we've got this here, and then we know that this guy is going to be in the center, and then you're going to have your bottom, and then you're going to have your top. And what we need to work together on is creating the flying geese, this piece here. So this one's going to go to the left, and then the only thing that we have to do is then arrange, and I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have our sashing on the outside. And I really think I'm digging it. And then this is where I was saying maybe there's a surprise of blue that isn't typically thought of in fall, but I kind of likey. There we go. So that's what we're going for. And it really is, I think this is kind of bold and strong. What do you guys think? All right, let's go. I would love to kind of catch up into the chat if I can. Thank you, Scott. Color design, yes, they are so small. And you know why? Because I'm stingy, because I don't want to use all that fabric. If I'm just making something that's just for a little wall hanging, then I don't have to cut into my precious. Yeah, Tracy, the blues, and I thought this, you know, like this, so maybe I'll have to do a Christmas prezi that'll be coming to England. I don't even know if you can still get this. Maybe somebody can see. It's Artisan Batiks Pattern Play. I totally love them. And if you've ever worked with Island Batiks, again, I'm not a brand ambassador for them. I'm not making any money on them. But even when I'm pressing, I love the smell. Like, there's just something, it's a specific smell to this fabric, and every collection or every bundle that I've ever gotten from them, it has just, the Island Batiks has this amazing smell when I iron them. Is that weird? All right, so the first thing that we're gonna work on, can I clean this up real quick? Because I don't like a mess when I'm working. And actually, this even has some purples in it. It's really, it's kind of hard to see on camera there, but it actually has some purple. Yeah, the 4-inch block was, I don't know that going smaller is going to make things any faster, because you're still piecing the same number of patches, but it definitely is a fabric saver, and actually you can really not worry about running out of fabric. And if you're somebody who just, you know, you want a simple project to work on, this may be the way for you. Now, one thing that for anybody who is a brand new quilter, and I have had more people lately reaching out to me saying they might consider starting. They've sewn in the past, but they want to start getting into it, and like, what's a good project to start with? This actually, my friend, is a really good project to start with, because you're going to have all your straight sewing, and you're just doing a straight line. But then with these flying geese, that's where you're going to say, okay, I'm learning, and I'm going to master that first skill through practice. And that's because you are going to have, on these flying geese, you do have that bias, and you don't want these little pieces, or whatever size, to be stretching. Because when you actually go to piece them all together, then you're just going to have this wonky block. So knowing that I had my bias involved, I did use my piecing glue. And so let's take our first little piece. And when I'm doing that, one thing that I love about having your die cutter, your AccuQuilt, is that it does have these notches already for you. And so what I'm going to do is work on just placement. And let me show you on the needle cam. And you see where this notch is actually going to line up even Steven. This notch is not, and that's going to look like it's wrong, But when you consider that you sew this other half, it's actually going to line up perfectly. So you've got a notch on both sides, and then when you do that final stitch and everything opens up, everything is going to line up. But the trick for me is really using that piecing glue on that bias edge. And it really is, it stitches up quick. So yes, I've already got a starter, a little piece of fabric in here, and make sure that I don't lose my little patch or any of the fabric in the hole. So I'm going to start again. There we go. And when I sew, I can't use my glasses. So let's try my knee lift. There we go. And one tip that I strongly encourage is that, I don't know if you just noticed what I just did, is I used my knee lift to allow the foot to come up before I started sewing. So I had this starter here, and that starter piece is bringing that fabric forward, but you don't want to push your fabric underneath the needle. You really want to lift it and then put it in place and put that fabric right in front of the needle, and that way it doesn't want to bunch as it's getting fed into the dog. Help me, I can't think. The dog, I want to say dog ears, and that's not right. All right, so I have that first piece sewn, and then we're going to put that second triangle on for our flying geese. I'll sew that up, and then we'll come back to the comments. And you can see when I'm doing 4 of these, and I am having sashing, and I have those cornerstones. Like I said, even though this is smaller, it is a lot of piecing to do. So it's, I would say it's a digestible project to work on. But you can see why I gave it a head start last night. And that way you weren't sitting and watching me do an entire wall hanging. But I lifted my needle, and then I allowed the needle to take a bite, and now it's going to pull that fabric, and then right to the end I sew to that corner. All right, give it a guillotine, and then ta-da! We have our final missing flying geese. So, question for you guys, have you tended to use, if you've done the Sawtooth star before, has yours been in more traditional or more modern blocks? Thank you, Scott. Yes, feed dogs. Engineer corners. Yeah, I don't know. Are they from Island Boutiques from Bali, Rob? Is that true? Let's all meet up for a factory tour. Well, I reached out to them a long time ago for Fiber Hustle, our other channel, and I said, hey, would you like to donate and for our channel? Never got a response from them, but no love lost. I'm sure they get so many different inquiries. I don't know. And that's Fizz is here. She just stopped by at Starbucks for a hot tea early for everyone. Well, wait a minute. I think it was on Friday. Yeah, it was on Friday, and she was going to the post office, and she was at Starbucks. Are your Starbucks people going to be regulars to the show too? Fizz over the weekend she was supposed to go to our bingo game, and due to technical issues, the bingo game that she was going to was just like a hot mess. And so after her fourth attempt, she had to give up and move on. Fizz, you have too many stupid, as you said, stupid projects going at the same time. I don't know how she does all the sewing. All right, so I'm going to, yes, okay. I've got my pieces arranged. And now I've got, this is the one I just made. And if you look at that, orientation does matter. I just had them backwards. So we're going to put those pieces together. Then we'll put these pieces together. And then those pieces together. So I will give this some quick glue just to give me, maybe this is my non-alcoholic liquid courage. And as I was piecing these last night, I found that an easy tip for an easy thing for me to do was glue both sides, because I could just sew one, turn it around, sew it. So I actually glue both first. All right, and of course, stupid glasses, I can't see. Johan, I saw your message, like what happened? Yeah, ordinarily the show should have a countdown and it should have a little video, but it didn't because there was yet another software update this morning that I couldn't prohibit, and it just adjusted all of my settings to, like, I don't know what these settings mean. So when I pushed the go live button, of course, I had technical issues. And so I have to go back once the live stream is over. I'm going to have to actually give this one a title and do everything again. So if anything, sewing live and actually broadcasting out to the world is showing me you have to be adaptable and flexible. So thank you, everybody who actually did find the live stream today. All right, got my little jump starter. And one thing that, and I know, forgive me, this angle, there we go. Yeah, this angle right here is a bad camera angle. I've got a different lens that's coming, but hopefully you can make out that I'm sewing with these the flying geese on top, because right here I do want to make sure that I'm not going to be sewing and overtaking where this point is, where that apex is. And if I line it up, then I won't lop off the tips of those flying geese. Es muy importante. Perfect. All right, I managed to sew them the right way. I saw Rob is in the chat, Rob, Mr. DeLine, and he is a newer quilter within about a year, and he just did a very fall-themed quilt. And Rob, your precision is masterful. I really admire your attention to detail. You are really inspiring to me. All right, so now I'm going to take the tops and the bottoms that I've already made, and we're going to attach those. And I do have them locking into place. So I'm nesting my seams, and I think that is one of the most important agenda items for making your 9-patch look well stitched. And actually, Scott, y'all, Scott, is it Scott Coley Designs? I forget the name of your business, but where are you? Okay, yeah, Scott Coley Design. Okay, this guy, you have got to check out his Instagram. He just did a quilt of RuPaul, and this guy is a master. I don't know why you're even tuning into this. I would love to take lessons from you. Like, you are a master. Love it. All right, so now I'm not gonna worry about pressing until I do the final one. And when I'm putting my glue on, you may think that I'm actually putting a lot on. The little applicator tip barely gives me anything, so I'm not going crazy. And Scott, I didn't know, was your RuPaul, was that pieced or was that applique? I would love to know more how you did that. Okay, let that set. You are amazing. And Stuart over at the Wool Patch, if you guys aren't watching the Wool Patch, you are a very busy man. He knows sewing, he knows quilting, he knows the Great British Sewing Bee. I'm waiting for the day that he's going to become one of the hosts. He's got a lovely shop in the UK for both sides of the house, knitting and sewing. All right, so we've got our little 9-patch made, and let me just give her a little press. Speaking of Tracy, so Tracy, thank you again. You have really, like, when I'm going through and I'm thinking about my fabric choices, you actually are making my life go a little bit more easy, because when I'm looking at the what is it, the value of those colors, it really helps make me make more intelligent decisions that say, okay, if I forget about the pretty and I just really focus on that value, then I'm really starting to say, okay, yes, it's pretty, but yes, it's actually, I think it's going to be visually functional, where my eye knows where to go, and it helps each of the patch pieces to actually pop where they're supposed to. So thank you. And Tracy wrote a pattern, which I'm going to put in the show notes later, but Tracy is releasing a new pattern that it's a great masterful if you're brand new, or if you're somebody who is looking to really take a deeper dive into finding those color values. It's a workshop. I mean, her pattern is so well written. I'm like, where did you get all these illustrations? And she is a Photoshop master queen. So my hands are, I am so proud of you. All right, now we have our sashing that we're going to apply. So I think the way I'm going to attack this is that first I'm going to, there we go. First thing I'm going to do is put my vertical strips together, and then I'll have to make 1, 2, 3 more vertical strips. So the first one is outside. What do I have? I have 4 pieces, so this is outside. I'm sorry, inside, inside, and let me get the outside. So we're going to need one of those, and one of those, and one of those, and one of those. Again, I love it. Batiks, there is no right or wrong side. Just get to sewing. Okay, there's one, and I might as well try to chain piece. Is it relaxing to watch other people working? I actually like watching other people sew. Now I know that I could have done all 4, but I just want to make sure that I'm doing this right. Especially because it is live and I don't want to be sitting here picking things out. Did you guys get trick-or-treaters? I don't remember, did I ask that? But we had 0. We have a bowl of candy that now must be eaten. But I didn't have any last night. See if I'm missing. Tracy says, yes, it's very relaxing watching other people work. I'm glad, I'm glad. Okay, so far so good. Now, to be honest, I still have the binding to do. So last week I made those placemats, and I'm going to make it my mission to finish those this weekend. I'm sorry, this week, and then I'll post them to my Instagram, so it's not like I'm just pretending to make stuff. I'm actually making stuff. Cool. So far, so good. Oh, that one looks wonky. I don't like that one. Yes. So I'm already seeing that one of mine, somehow, one of my my horizontal lines are not lining up. So that is the part, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to tear it apart. Yeah, that one looks good. And I'll show you in a minute. The universe was amazing the day that they said, oh, we're going to give you an automatic thread cutter. I absolutely cannot do without mine. Okay, so this is what I'm going to show you down here, is that on this one, you can see my vertical, everything lines up easy peasy the way it should. This one's a keeper. This one, no bueno. I'm not liking that one because this one is so way up high and this one's down. So I'm going to actually unpick this one. I'm happy with. It's not this one. I'm not happy with that. And I hope, where is my, oh, I set them out for myself. I actually use, when you're unpicking, what tool to use? Do you use a traditional seam ripper? I use my little Bernina tweezers and to pop my seams. They're not harsh and they don't ruin the fabric. So I do maybe every third seam, and then it just makes it easy. Then I have like something to grab onto because I just cut my nails. If you've ever watched Mom and Pop Quilt Shop, the Mom and Pop Quilt Shop, they're in Canada, and she actually has a song. Seam ripper, seam ripper. That's the whole song. But it's like an earworm that it just like, seam ripper, seam ripper. I love them. They're a very, very, her name's Pat, and then, actually, I don't know what her husband's name, all I know him by is Pop. They are a very nice couple, and they have one son who is in college. She is a professional long armor, and I think she also is a crossing guard part-time for schools, and they're fun. I mean, if you like to watch other people sew, Mom and Pop Quilt Shop is a good watch. Haha, that's what I wanted. More to the point. Oh, I was like, how come that didn't look right? There you go. So now we're good. So now we have our block is actually coming together, and what do I have? Just a little bit more to do. So let's make the center one. So I'm going to start with that corner, the center corner square. For this, I'll definitely need my little jump starter. And I will say one thing, there's only one thing that I have as a personal preference thing about Island Batiks. It is beautiful. It is so rich in colors, but it is a little thinner to work with. It's not a very heavy cotton. So that makes a difference to me when I'm the way I am, maybe unpicking, or especially if I need these jump starters so that there's just no chance for me to lose the fabric in that needle plate. Okay, so there's my center. I've got my sides. The only thing I have left to do is the top and bottom, and then we can start putting the last thing all together. Stuart, I did see your comment earlier that you're like, how many cameras does he have? It's actually Ecamm. I have 1, 2, 3. So I have a little GoPro, and then I have my 2 Canons. But then with my streaming software, I can just put it on autopilot and then zoom in, zoom out, and with a click of a button, it's real easy. I have a bone to pick. I have a bone to pick with you, Tracy. I never need a seam ripper. You're that girl, aren't you? I love you. I know that's a lie. That is hilarious. And then Fizz. Stuart, I actually just did that. He says, I've seen what looks like a beard trimmer used for a seam ripping. Anyone used one? I'm going to tell you the truth. So we had the Alaska Rainbow Gang. So we were working on the Alaska Rainbow quilt together. And I was doing something fancy with my ruler work. And what I didn't realize was that the arms to my long arm were actually a little bit like this. They were actually moving. And I didn't realize that it was causing me to skip stitches. And so I had the design and it looked great from the top. It wasn't perfect, but it looked kind of good. And then I did a little sanity check the third one that I did. So I'm doing these over and over and over, over and over and over, over and over and over. So, you know, that making that like atom symbol, whatever that is. And on the bottom was nothing but bird's nests. And there was no way that my little seam ripper could have gotten all that out. So I actually took my clippers and started like shearing underneath my quilt. She's not done yet. And I'm not happy about that. But yeah, that's the truth. And that's why my Alaska Rainbow quilt is not finished yet. Do they actually make a trimmer that is specifically for sewing? Carrie was here, Carrie from The Creative Obsession. She was here a couple of weeks ago and she saw the truth. She saw the truth with my bearded quilt. And her suggestion was, you know, it's kind of, she said it would be hard to unpick all of those stitches because again, I was going over and over because I really wanted some impact on that stitching. And she said, like, she goes, you need to take that whole thing off the frame and then sit down, watch TV, and just unpick all those stitches. And I was like, I'm actually afraid of taking my quilt off the long arm once it's done. I have never done that before, and I don't have, for my setup, maybe Santa, Chip is on, not me, but maybe Santa could get me some zippered leaders and enders for my frame. Or just do it right the first time like Tracy. Haha, it's looking good, folks. So Stuart says, yes, they do. I saw it demoed on the Sewing Street Selling Telly channel on Facebook and YouTube, but I think it was literally a beard clipper, but with branding on it. Oop. Well, Stuart, that makes me think, as soon as you put the word sewing or quilting on it, they're going to raise the price tenfold. Because of course, we don't know what we're talking about. It's got to be the best thing if it has sewing on it or quilting. I have never been to the Houston market, and I can only imagine based on the sewing expos that I've done here in, or went to here in Washington State. I can't imagine all the new, like, unique products that are made specifically for the sewing and quilting industry, let alone the ones that are actually made specifically. I know that a lot of things get repurposed, kind of like what I was talking about in the first episode the other day, where there are no new ideas. Everything is redone and repurposed. All right, and gang, we're almost there. Do any of you use these guillotines? I love them. All right, so that's 1, 2, and 3. All right, Tracy has a good suggestion. You can scalp your quilt. You take it off the frame and literally use a scalpel to slice through the stitches as you peel the top from the batting and backing. Oh, that is like serious surgery. Bye, Rob. All right, we are coming up. I was hoping not to have to do like quite so much surgery. All right, so we have our pieces, and I'm going to give them each a quick press, and then that's 1, 2, 3, 4 more seams. And okay, so this one I'm going to do out, and this is where I do want to make sure that I'm on this one. I'm gonna for that center one, I'm going to press my seams out for that top one. So this in this one, I'm going to press my my seams in so that they do nest. And especially with this having a lot more bulk, that's why I'm going to let this one just rest as is instead of doing them to the inside. I'm just going to do that. And then all of those should be good. Okay. 1, 2, and this goes out. Oh, did I miss one? 2, 3, 4. Oh, there it is. I thought I didn't sew one. Okay. So up, 2, 3, and I think it's looking good. Stuart, the guillotine is this one. I mean, I know there's so many. They come in different shapes and sizes. This one's the cutting gizmo. You can get that on Chipazon. I am going to be brave and not. I'm not going to do any pinning because I can feel my nested seams. Then I'm going to have to decide what I'm going to do, what kind of binding I'm going to put on this. Come on, flip. Okay, we'll do that. Make sure everything came through. Yay! Yay and nay. I had one that didn't line up too well. That is the reality of my sewing. I've had a lot of people say, wish you luck, you're really brave. Well, the truth is, I am that person, and Aaron knows that I do a lot of ripping because I'm not happy unless it's right. So I will make sure to do it the way I would do it normally and not just be sloppy. Ugh, it still did it. I'm gonna have to iron it. Now, the Tracy, since you're my expert, you're my go-to, one of my go-tos, I would say Carrie too. When I would like to know, when are you going to start broadcasting and doing some live quilting? That I would definitely tune in for. One, it is relaxing. Two, you know, I think you could offer us a master class in long arming, whether it's the long arming, or whether it's like, hey, you know, this is how to do your files if you're working with like a machine guided, or even with the Pantones. I know that both you and Emma do the Pantones. Okay, that one I'm happy with. That one's coming across. And let's see if I can speed through. And because I'm thinking this might be better, I'm going to go ahead and pin, because this feels a little flimsy. And these seams are pretty persnickety. One. That one feels good. So I'm going to probably have to put it in the show notes, but I know that when I was talking about Barbara Brackman, who authored that encyclopedia, and I think this is the 3rd or the 4th edition, she is going to be, I think, on a live chat with AccuQuilt later this month. I think that she would be very interesting to listen to. She's going to be talking about not a new block, but I guess a new block, or a block that they're showcasing. All right, we are here. And lift. See, when I get these up on Instagram, you're going to be able to see for real, and I won't be able to hide. I won't be able to hide from any mistakes, so I might as well do it right. Now imagine if I had not put all those pieces together. This would have been a long, too long. Yay, that one looks good. Yay, that one looks good. And ta-da. So pinning was my friend there. I don't like to pin a lot, but when I get into like the bigger pieces and the longer strips, then I definitely start to pin a lot more. I need a moderator, somebody who can tell me what am I missing. Tracy says, oh, I don't have the fancy cameras. They're not fancy. They're not fancy. Stuart, thank you. He loves this bit, getting to the final rows. Yeah, I do too. And this is when you're like, okay, did I do it right? Is it gonna look all right? And Tracy, even if you don't have the fancy cameras, I would love, like, I think a lot of people, there are quilters and then there are piecers. And for most of my journey so far, I've mostly focused on the piecing, and I think that's a really good place to start. There's some people, they don't want to do the piecing. They just want to get right into the quilting part. But for me, if I labor over anything, like I can already labor over fabric choices, and like design is fun for me because I usually don't lack for ideas for design. But when it comes to the actual quilting, it is so intimidating to me. And because I have my Bernina long arm, I'm compelled. You must make it. You must quilt this. And I don't have the robotics. I don't have that yet. And I think that is a good thing for me personally, because it makes me and forces me to actually do it by hand before I start, as Yoan would say, pushing buttons. I think ultimately I love piecing, but I think when it comes to the quilting part, I'm a button pusher. I would love to be a button pusher. And as a designer, Tracy, I'm sure you're going to say, well, it's a lot more than pushing buttons. And I know it is on your end, because you really do. You come up with these designs. The other day on Instagram, you were posting your love, the word love, and it was in a leaf, and it was stunning. And to think that you actually made that in your computer, and then programmed your long arm to do that, that is phenomenal. Tracy, you'll have to send a link to your store where people can find your files, because you are an artist. All right, final stitch. Hopefully no ripping. Can I put my pins away? Yes, yes, and I'm amazing. Pins were my friend. And I said, sorry, I wasn't going to use you, but I needed you. All right, let me do, yes, so Tracy, you were asking what size these, the size the Sawtooth are. This is a 4-inch block. Which I'm just using this for a wall hanging. Which I love because it's not a fabric hog. You don't have to worry about your pieces like running out. And I would say, huzzah, I did this live. Very, very, very cute. What do you think? Looks so, so cute. Little 4-inch blocks, and what I like and admire, and this is, you know, not to toot my own horn, but when I'm coming up and I want to make sure that I'm not lopping off, oh, I lopped one off there, I would actually resew that. And if I'm being hypercritical, yep, I lopped that one off. 3. 1, 2, 3 that I could redo. But otherwise, again, that's why you work on a little one and, you know, don't worry about the big one. Now, I know the lighting is not incredible, but you can see here, you know, it does have that little bit of surprise blue in there, and it's very fall. It's like, now, can you imagine, let's put this, can we put this on the barn? How do you do that? There we go. There we go. It's on the barn door. Oh, we actually made it. So thank you very much. Party. I don't know what the avocado means. Thank you, Janice. Nice to see you. And who else do we have? Angel. Yeah, this is the, you know what? Do you guys ever wish that you could just go into work and everybody cheers for you at work? I mean, if you need an ego boost, this is the way to do it. Now, wait a minute. So only 49 more to go. What was that, Brendan? 49. What's that mean? 49. So that is it. So there is your Sawtooth. And I would say this is more traditional. I don't think this would be more modern. I don't know what you guys would consider this, but I think if I was going to implement this into a quilt, you could go for a 4-inch block like this one, but I think that would be, I think it would be good for a, you know, like a throw. And maybe I might use larger and wider sashing, but, you know, or if you're like a workaholic, you could bang out a whole one, but increase the size. Maybe you might do just one and make it a more modern quilt. Whatever road you take, there is no wrong answer as long as you're quilting. Am I right? All right, that is it for today. Very thirsty, and I've got my little Wendy's from last night. It's actually Go-Go. My Go-Go. So thank you everybody who stopped in today and hung out a while I was making this block, and maybe you were doing some crafting too, but we are in full quilting season for the fall. And I think we have fall going on until the 21st of December, so you can expect to see a lot more fall-themed projects because it is my favorite time of year. But happy Monday to you. Welcome to November. It is the 1st. To those in the UK, congratulations on already getting your clocks to fall backward. You gained an hour. I'm jealous. Ours isn't coming until this weekend. But thank you all for being here, and I will see you on Friday. And bye for now.